Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is Zed. Today I'm going to be talking about BKYI, BioKey International. Make sure you share, subscribe, and like this video to help this channel grow. I'm going to be going through technical analysis, more from a one-day perspective to a little bit of a longer term. And then I'm going to go on and dive into the company's profile, latest news, products, and expected PR, as well as what I think about this stock. So first things first, you get to look into the 1 month, 1 day. So this stock had an offering yesterday that dipped it down to around 60 cents. The offering price is at 65 cents, so it's already above that offering price. Going on a little bit, you get to see that it does offerings as usual do break different indicators. The stock price is under the 200 SMA, although it did get above that 200 SMA today off 70 cents, which it hasn't, by the way, for a lot. Well, it has been above it for quite a while. In terms of William percent R, the stock is insanely still oversold compared as well to the previous days. Average directional index does not show us, doesn't have a lot of indication here in terms of the 1 day perspective. Momentum, it seems that it's actually picking up back momentum after it lost it. MACD here is due to that kind of massive drop. We're going in from around $1.09 all the way to the 60 cents. That does break the MACD, so I'll consider considered inaccurate at this point. You need to look into the 1 hour perspective. 10 SMA is right now still, well, very close to the 30 EMA, under the 30 EMA, so that's a little bit of a bearish sign, but you need to look into the 1 hour perspective. So quickly here, we're going to look into the 1 hour perspective. And from here, what we're going to be able to see is a little bit in terms of the next hour's movements, especially through the day and into the next moving day. So you get to see sometime around 2 p.m. yesterday, a reversal occurred on the MACD where it has gone positive. And that MACD is still going on strong. It doesn't seem that it's actually decreasing, so it's still maintaining a good amount in terms of positivity in terms of that MACD. So that's good news. Average directional index shows that there could be a possibility of a trend starting. That's above 20. Wondering if it will hit above 25 or whatnot, so that we'll be able to see a little bit later on in the day and in the morning. Volumes have been very much similar to what we've seen in the day before, where it's seen in the first hour massive volume and then dipped a little down in volume. And that seems to be the same case. So you might actually have the same upward movement that you did before. Now, the 50 SMA and the 200 SMA are still above this stock's price, which is expected due to their offering. And what you get to see is that the 200 SMA has crossed the 50 SMA, and that's usually a golden cross. Going on towards the William percent R, this puts it a little bit out of neutral during today, a little bit more towards the oversold part. Momentum seems to be still somewhere very close to 0.02, so it's not negative momentum, which it had for a few days before, after it hit the 171 mark. Now moving on towards the VWAP, the stock price in terms of the VWAP has been a little bit basically matching the stock, so that's a little bit of a thing there to consider. Moving on towards the moving averages. Oh, this is going to do quickly here. Going on to the 1 month, 1 day, what we're going to get to see is that the stock is significantly below that moving average in CN due to the offering. So it does have an expectation to jump back up in terms of that. There's a lot of people that have bought around the 16th, and the volume was around 120 million. So in comparison, there is a potential for this stock to do in fact reach $1, and I'll explain why in a minute. Moving on to the 1 month, 1 hour, we're going to consider quickly Fibonacci Retracements and try to identify where those supports and resistance occur. So if we were to consider this here, you get to see that the resistance on Fibonacci Retracement is around 0.85, that it has as well confirmed. So that is a resistance. Although the price has dropped significantly, that it's far below that resistance. So technically the next resistance would be somewhere around the 0.72 that it did test, and then moving on to around 0.76. And then moving around 0.79. So there's a lot of upward movement here that it can actually move up towards. Let's try to look if there's any kind of patterns that are interesting in the last trading day. Not a lot to see here. It does look like it's actually more of an accumulation phase per se, but nothing here is significant for me. So what I'm going to do quickly here is going to do it in 5 minutes. 5 days, 30-minute interval to try to identify if there's any kind of pattern that might be interesting to me. Nothing here that looks to be interesting. It is an uptrend. Let's try to see if we can draw that uptrend quickly. Okay, so it's still significant uptrend. That should be just a little bit below there. In terms of the day, it seems that it is kind of still oscillating between two prices. It did reach as well to the around 72 mark and then dipped back to 65 before it kind of stood over there. Still looks good in terms of my book. Let's take a quick look into the company's information. Over here, BioKey. Now, so what are you buying here? You're buying different things. So they have different solutions, including fingerprint scanners, softwares, multi-factor authentication, enterprise security, identity and access management. And they're one of their partners is Microsoft. They have ID detectors for Windows, security assertion, markup language, SML. So let's try to look at their customers, right? Who are they supplying? All right, so they are supplying different people. Of course, there's, I believe, new customers as well added to this. University of Iowa, Hospital Clinics, VT, the World Bank, St. Luke's Hospital, Union Pacific, Scotland, Imperial. So let's try to look. MasterCard. They do have some big names here. Department of Justice. What else we're looking at? British Columbia. That's in Canada. Cleveland Clinic. Okay, so you do have some big names here. They got even international ones like Dubai Police. What else we're looking at here? So okay, so we got a few ones. Of course, there's new contracts as well, so I'll mention it here in a second. I'm not going to go through very much in depth in terms of different contracts they have, but they do have new contracts for universities as well in the States. I know there has been, I believe, California contracts as well coming in. There's a lot of potential here. So looking in terms of the balance sheets from March 31st, 2020 to December 31st, 2019. So that's 3 months. And you get to see that they have decreased their liability. So their liability has decreased quite a bit. Their assets has increased by around 500,000. I'm not sure if that's usually these numbers are in thousands anyway. But the total liability and stockholder amount you have is around 3 million. Compared to 2.5 million from the last 3 months. So there has been decrease of liability and increase of assets, which usually is a good sign. Going in towards basically the basic diluted loss per common share. Now this does look quite a little bit worse in terms of 0.23 to 0.13, just because that's just per share. But if you're looking basic and diluted, you see that the number is in fact higher. In terms of revenue, they're sitting a little bit significantly below. But that's not counting in the new contracts and whatnot. And considering in as well, COVID is a thing. Usually places that had fingerprints and stuff probably wouldn't be going on for these kind of products. So in terms of Microsoft, they do have some of their products as well for the partnerships. Not going to go through this very significantly because this is not new news. Moving on towards different purchases and sellouts. There has been some sellouts on the 15th, and now that is obvious due to on the 15th the price was significantly higher, really touching around almost well, on the 15th it was actually around 0.8. On the 16th, where the day literally after they sold, that has gone very close to $1.71, so jumped above 100%. Not any significant insider buying here in terms of institutional owners. I believe the last purchase was on the 14th by CNB Bank. They're holding around 250 shares, so that's a little bit insignificant amount. Moving on as well towards try to look into different news. So yeah, the offering here, offering is around 0.65. It does close tomorrow. So the offering is around 0.65 here, and we're actually using the July 20th price of around 0.87 per share. That's pre-offering. And I believe it does actually close on the 23rd. Okay, so that's pretty much as this information here is. Moving on towards, this is the warrants that they issued as well. So that's combined to the previous one. Moving on to this one here. Let's take a quick look into terms of what this news is. This is their S1 form. That was on the 17th, so that's usually already priced in, so I'm not going to go very much into it. It's still, again, same thing in terms of the capitalization and the getting in a little bit of increase in terms of capital. So that's their almost expected after the offering is to have around 14.7 million in cash. That's quite significant for development. And there's actually one good news here. I'm just trying to look for this one is pretty much priced in since it's already on June 29th. This one here is the ID solution provider. BioAPI closes purchase of identity and success management provider, Pistol Star, and completes convertible note placements. That was basically news coming in from the purchase of a large scale provider on premises identity, IDAS, and identity access management. So it increases their operations in that way. They do have as well authentication solutions to West Coast state securing and access and centralized voter register database. And what is this going to be affecting is perhaps the votings as well in some states, and having a bit more contracts in terms of government points. So that's good. Now coming in towards the vote, and this vote is happening, I believe, August 6th, 10 a.m. local time. And so what are we voting on? Usually in terms of these ones, especially in stocks that are trading lower, they usually vote on reverse split. But here's the good catch. I don't see any reverse split here. What I'm seeing here at this point is election of directors, ratification of selection of Solomon Bittiger as a company independent registered public accounting, approval on advisory basic on our executive compensation, approval on transact such business may properly come before the meeting. So I don't think they're going to be voting for a reverse split either, and it's not on the agenda. So that's good news, right? Moving on towards, this just says basically again, the meeting is on August 6th. This one is again their balance sheet that I've covered just in a minute ago. Let's try to look in terms of, they have their 10K here. And I do know they have different contracts, such as they're still waiting on updates from different ones. I'm not going to mention it at this point, just because it is at this point still priced in terms of the current price. Okay, nothing going on here. I'm just going to go quickly before ending this video towards their annual report and comparing their year-per-year growth. Oh, we're going to go here. As it quickly loads, is there anything interesting? Nope. So May 14th to May 20th, and I'm just gonna also open up this. I think I opened up the email. That's fine. Take a quick look. And so what we're looking for here is an increase in terms of the sales, and what you get to see is they do have a little bit of different movements that happened. So their total cost and other expenses has decreased in terms of half. Their total revenue is also half. But their services here has increased. License fees, it has decreased significantly. So there has been a little bit of a decrease in terms as well of revenue. Although with this kind of new acquisition, I might see a little bit of movement going on. Now, this is an offering play. So what is my expectations for this stock, and what am I going to do with it? I'm going to be waiting until tomorrow. It did have a good movement previously. I'll be considering the sell above the 0.75 mark. So my price target for this, because I do have shares, and I was out yesterday and I was a little bit sick, so I didn't buy it in this region. I did buy it a little bit in the morning around 64 cents, sitting I believe right now at 60,000 shares. And I'll be considering to sell it somewhere very closer to the 0.8 mark, especially as you get to see that, for instance, here, the last candle that is closing in is looking like a hammer. It does see a good uptrend, especially if you look in a little bit in terms of the 5 days, 1 hour period. You will see a little bit of an uptrend that looks looks here that is still sustainable. So that's my play on it. Let me know what you think about the stock. Make sure you mention it down in the comments below. Share, subscribe, and like, and you have a wonderful day.